Hello. Hopefully you can hear me. So, and this, for whatever reason, when I go live on my phone or my computer, it doesn't show me any comments. So if you leave a comment, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't actually see it until I get off the live, and then I can comment. It doesn't make a ton of sense. Hey, Trevor. So somebody just messaged me about yesterday's video, and thank you to everybody who's been messaging about yesterday's video. I didn't have any idea how impactful it would be, and I'm so glad, because I think this is one of, yesterday's video is one of the biggest reasons we don't let ourselves move forward and do the things we want to do. It's because we're afraid that that is immediately pointing at things that just sound terrifying and we don't want to do them. But that's not how the subconscious works. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and go back and watch yesterday's video after this, because they're not going to be related in time and space in the way that you need to watch it first. But thank you for those of you who've messaged me. I'm so glad it's helpful. And somebody who messaged me was saying, oh, okay, well, I really helpful. It's helped me put things in perspective. Hey, Santosh. Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you today. It's really helped put things in perspective. And I also discovered that I have these blocks, and the person was just discovering the concept of upper limits, which if you've read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, you may be familiar with the concept of upper limits, or if you've been in the online coaching world for a while, you may know the concept of upper limits. But basically the idea is that there are lots of things that we want to feel and have in our lives, but we cap ourselves from feeling them. So we may want to feel radiantly joyful, but anytime we get near the feeling of radiant joy, we sabotage it somehow, right? This happens in relationships where all of a sudden we really like somebody, and so we go out and flirt with somebody else, or we call the ex, or we're just about to have a big breakthrough in business, and so we splurge and go buy something and rack up our credit cards, So that's how upper limit sabotage plays out. But one of the things that happens when we discover this concept of blocks and we discover the concept of sabotage is that all of our focus then goes there, and we go, oh my gosh, I've been sabotaging myself right and left. Whoa, this is a big block. Who knew I was blocking my own happiness? Who knew I was blocking my own success? Who knew I was blocking my own feelings of peace and contentment? And so you can hear in that word, we're consistently saying the word block, right? We're just focusing on the block itself, like, whoa! And just like a grief process, just like an addiction process, the first step is acknowledgement, right? So we need to know that it's there. We need to know that something's up and something's happening. But if we stop there, then we don't help ourselves. If we stop there and just focus all the energy on the block, we haven't actually shifted anything per se. We've just shifted the focus from not knowing to knowing, right? Now we know what we're focused on, but we're still in the same habit. So there's got to be something else at play, because just focusing on a block doesn't solve the block, right? Just focusing on anger doesn't make anger go away, or just focusing on how many pimples you have doesn't make your pimples go away, right? Like, if anything, it makes them seem even bigger because now you're so focused on it you can't help but see it, right? So the same thing's happening with these blocks in our lives. And again, if you're just joining, I for some reason can't see comments. So if you're commenting, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't see them for some reason. Wait, let me press this button. No, no, no. That's what Facebook has to say to me. No, Alexis, you don't know how to work this. So, just like when you're focused on like your skin, or you're focused on having extra weight, and then the weight just seems more and more and more, or the pimples seem more and more and more, the same thing's happening with blocks. So when we see these ways that we sabotage ourselves, then we just see more and more and more sabotage. So the awareness is awesome. We don't want to take away from the awareness, because we want to see ourselves in a more, in a broader perspective, right? We want to see what's going on so we can discover, okay, well, if I wanted to be in deliberate control of my life, if I wanted to deliberately create some of the circumstances of my life, then what could I change? Where is my little influence of power able to have the biggest effect? So we want to zoom out and have bigger perspective on our life. So in that sense, seeing things like blocks or patterns of self-sabotage or habits of the mind that keep repeating the same old cruddy story, really valuable. We just don't want to stop there. So what would be the balance, right? What would be the thing that balances out the focus on blocks, because there's got to be something else at play in order to move beyond blocks. Otherwise, the focus just shifts and it rests. And we all know, I was quoting this to the woman who was commenting or messaging with me, one of my friends. She was, we blame ourselves for not changing, but what's at rest stays at rest. Like, not changing is the normal, right? Changing takes a little bit of effort, unless you're a plant and then you water it and it grows or it dies. Like, the normal life changes on a subtle level, but when we're in control of it, we're like, I don't want to change. I don't want to grow. I don't want to die. We're like, let's freeze frame right here. Like, a plant doesn't freeze frame. A tree doesn't freeze frame. So it's not natural to freeze frame, but that's our concept, right? What's at rest stays at rest. So if we see these blocks and we're like, oh, that's why I'm at rest. That's why I haven't changed. That's why it's so hard for me to change. Look, now I know all the reasons. But in order to change, something else has to be at play, because the awareness of the block isn't enough to get us to drop the block, right? It's not enough to get us out of an old mindset. It's not enough to get us over the hurdle of a crappy habit that we've had for 10 or 20 years. There's got to be something else that gets us beyond that. And I've been playing with the power of the energy of decision and conviction. And I've been talking about conviction for a while, like probably 2 years now, because it's a really, conviction is an energy that's implied in almost everything we do. And a couple of years ago, I made a video about the triangle connection between intention, conviction, and action. Was it action? As I contradict myself, but that's okay. It was 2 years ago. This is a deep dive in my memory. Oh, give me a break. It was conviction, intention, and I think it was action. And actually, it was just around the election last year that I made this, right? And I'll share it again because it could be really powerful again now. But the idea is that intention is very powerful, who we choose to be. So your intention is underlying things and playing out. Your conviction is the strength with which you believe it's possible. And those two things come together, and action is just like the tiny blip on top, right? Action is going to tip us one way or the other, but it's not what's creating all that momentum underneath. So when you have your intention might be to be incredibly peaceful and open-hearted. But if your conviction says, well, but that's not possible because everybody I know is a total jerk, total closed-minded, closed-hearted, horrible, anxious, frustrated jerk. My life's too stressful. My job's too stressful. It's just not possible when you're somebody like me. It's not possible when you have a life like mine. It's not possible with somebody who has a childhood like mine, right? Like, when we've got these beliefs, then the conviction isn't very strong. So the intention could be there, but it's never going to get to action because it doesn't have that oomph of conviction to drive it forward. So then your daily action, your daily experience, and your intention are just constantly going to be hitting up against each other. And you may create circumstances in your life to explore that intention, but they're probably going to be circumstances on the negative side of the intention, meaning they're opportunities to change and evolve, but because your conviction isn't strong enough, they just feel like life smacking you upside the head over and over and over, right? So this is why I shared this story a while ago. A woman reached out to me and said, I really just wanted to go into this relationship with this person, and I wanted to be really open and loving, and then he hurt me. I'm like, well, here's your opportunity to be open and loving, right? Because he really hurt you, and now it's hard to be open and loving. It's easy. It's easy when people are doting flowers and dinners on you, but it's really hard when somebody's been a jerk and made you feel horrible, right? So that's what I mean. Like, your intention is still playing out. It's just probably going to be playing out in more painful ways because you're not accepting the invitation, because your conviction is telling you that it's not possible to change. But once you bring in the conviction of like, oh no, and this is happening, and this is possible, and I know it's possible for me, I am 100% committed not to making it happen, but that it already has happened. It's just who I am. Then your intention and action come together, or your intention and conviction come together, and your actions can start to change and reflect that. So that's how we move past blocks. Because blocks in and of themselves, the awareness is great, but they're not going to get you anywhere but spiraling into the self-help hole that self-help takes us into, right? Call it navel-gazing, call it whatever you want. Call it over-intellectualizing, over-analyzing, whatever. I live there. I get it. But it's when we're like, woo, look at all the things that are wrong with me. Right? Did it on the call with my coach today, actually. Like, let me tell you all the things that are wrong and how I can't get out of this. And then it's reflected back to me, right? Well, what's the conviction? What is the belief? Is the belief that you're too broken and flawed and you're never going to get out of it? Or is the belief that it's possible for you to be different, in which case you're going to be different? That doesn't mean you're going to be different every moment of every day in perfect ways, right? You're still going to have bad habits of thought. You're still going to have bad habits of action. You're still going to have desires to sabotage yourself. You may even do it, right? But the conviction is stronger than the slip-ups. And that keeps you moving forward. I just want to make sure you got that. The conviction is stronger than the slip-ups. So, when I quit smoking, what really impacted me was Jack Canfield's chapter, 99% is a bitch. Pardon the language, that's the name of the chapter. And in that chapter, he says, I'm not 99.9% committed to my wife. I'm 100% committed to my wife. And so I've dropped the energy of struggle around should I, shouldn't I, am I, aren't I? And that was the thing that finally for me really sunk in, where I thought, no, I'm 100% to being somebody who doesn't smoke. Does that mean I don't slip up? No. Over the 10 years since I made that decision, I've had some cigarettes. I even smoked for another couple months in there. And then I quit again because the overall conviction is that I don't smoke. And I don't regret any of that, and it's fine, right? It's fine. Like I'm not shaming myself or blaming myself over it anymore. And it's the same thing with any type of change you make. Like, say you decide, no, I'm a confident, worthy person. I'm capable of making quite a bit of money. I'm capable of being expressive in the world because I have a lot of gifts to share. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day as a sobbing mess and you're like, it's a lie. I'm really just a total mess. And like, why? And nobody should ever believe me. And how am I ever supposed to be? You're like, fine. But your conviction is strong enough that your intention is playing out. And when those moments arise, and they will, your intention and your conviction will carry you through. Because what's happening when those times of sabotage, when those times of limiting beliefs, when those times of crappiness come up, is they're not coming up to stop you. They're coming up to invite you to open the next door and to go deeper, right? To understand even more what it's going to take, to release a belief even further so that you can really let it go. And then once you've opened a couple doors, and it may take a while, it may take years of sobbing and feeling like a failure, right? But if you know that it's possible, hold steady. It's okay if in the moment of feeling terrible, you're like, I don't know if it's possible. Fine. But the overall you knows that it's possible, right? And if you don't find examples of it being possible, if you don't work on the conviction, and because once you know it's possible, everything you do is going to keep moving you there. And it's going to do it in pretty miraculous ways. And it's going to give you experiences that you're like, whoa, I had no idea that was related to that. And it would free me up like this, right? Like for me, having this amazing partner in my life freed up things around my business. Like they shouldn't be related, but they are. Because it's all in here. It's all about belief and what we're capable of. And what's possible for us. And what's not possible for people like us, right? So if you've been, dabbling in self-development, if you've been dabbling in empowerment, if you've been listening to my videos, for God's sake, then you've heard of the concept of blocks, and you may now be aware of them, like, oh my gosh, I'm stopping myself from living my best life. Oh my gosh, here I am sabotaging myself again. Oh my gosh, I could have done this amazing thing, and, what would Alexis have done? She probably would have said this, and I didn't do it. I totally messed it up. Like, that's okay. It's okay because if you know that it's possible for you and you truly believe that it's what you want, then you're going to get all the experiences to let you explore that. And your intention about who you really are is going to slowly unfold over time. And your intention may unfold in ways that are totally unconscious. And I mean unconscious, not even subconscious, right? Like, I'm amazed every day by the people in my life who seem to hint that I'm a way better person than I think I am, right? Because I've got some amazing people in my life, and I'm like, whoa, these people are awesome. Wait, that means I must be awesome. Like, that's your intention slowly showing up, right? Like, but you may not even know that your intention is to really shine on a level or to be a certain way in the world. You may not even realize that, but your conviction of being a certain way, your conviction to say, no, I want this for myself. No, I swear I'm allowed to have this. I'm allowed to feel good. I'm allowed to feel happy. I'm allowed to feel successful. I want that for myself. I want experiences of open-heartedness. I want experiences of expansion. You see, I'm not talking about experiences that are really specific to action, right? Not like I want the experience of driving a really luxury car. Like, we're talking about feeling-based ones, because feeling-based ones are the bigger belief. Because you could do any action in the world and never have it feel the way you want it to feel, right? So the action doesn't matter unless it's attached to the feeling. So focus on the feelings, let the actions sort themselves out, because it's like these unanswered prayers. No, that's the wrong phrase. Unexpected answers to prayers, meaning like you're going to get the gifts that you need if you focus on what you want and need. Not tangibly, not in the action sense, but in the deeper sense. So if you focus on being open-hearted, you're going to get a lot of experiences to learn how to be open-hearted, and some of those are going to hurt. I'll just be honest. And if you want the experience of feeling abundant, well, guess what? You're going to get an abundance of negativity as well. You're going to get an abundance of crap, and you got to learn how to sort through the abundance and learn how to manage it and expand into it, because abundance is abundance is abundance. It's all around in every way, right? It's you who's saying, no, only abundance in this way, right? And so, well, I'll just leave it at that, because I don't want to take this down even further, but really, really think about conviction. Like, what are you convicted for and with yourself, right? Particularly if you're working on blocks or you're working on negative patterns. So say, well, my mind is always telling me that I'm unworthy. Well, I'm always having this bad habit come back up where I sabotage through food. I'm always oversleeping. I'm, whatever thought it is that comes up, well, I just keep, I say that I want these things, but then I just can't seem to get with it. Or I want to go to the gym and get healthy, but then I just don't feel like it. Or, whatever those things are. Dig into your conviction, because your intention is already there, right? Your intention is telling you, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, but the conviction's a little wobbly. The conviction is not there to say, yes, I believe it's possible, and so it's going to happen no matter what. It's going to happen no matter how many times I stumble, no matter how many times I sabotage, no matter how many times I revert back, right? All those concepts aren't real. It just feels like that, and that we have language that implies that. But again, it's cyclical time, not linear time. Go back and watch that video if you don't know what I'm talking about. So, it's the conviction that we need to check in with. If you keep getting hung up on mindset things, you keep getting hung up on beliefs or habits, it's the conviction that we check in with. Do I actually believe it's possible for me? And if the answer is no, wow, there's a big gap in there, then we look at our beliefs, right? Then we do things like, let me write out all these beliefs and then use the power of my mind and analysis to argue with them and prove them wrong. Then you look at things like getting a coach or getting a group together who, somebody who you trust, who can help you through these things, who can help you reframe beliefs so that you're not stuck with the same old belief, but you're able to actually move beyond it and really firmly commit, because commitment, decision, conviction, same energy, to who you want to be and how you want to be in the world. I'm just scanning my brain really quickly. This is what it looks like when I look around in my brain. I think that covers it. Yeah, once you know if it's the conviction or not. Hey, Marissa, once you know if it's the conviction or not, then we get to do the work, right? It's like narrowing down where we need to put the effort. So instead of just putting the effort on like, oh, look, a block. Oh, look, I'm sabotaged. We put the effort on, oh, look, now here's the path forward. And that's really the gift of thinking about conviction. Because if we're lacking in that energy of decision, and you may have heard this a lot. Hi, oh, I can see a comment. Yes. Thank you, Marissa, for proving I can see a comment. When we're in the energy of you might have heard about this if you follow other people online like me. They talk a lot about the power of decision. And once you decide, you can have it. And some of us are like, yeah, good for you that you decided you could have $1 million. But I made that decision and it hasn't showed up yet. But yes, thank you. But that's where we get into conviction. They made the decision and had the power of conviction to allow the action to match, right? Because all three of those things go together: intention, action, conviction. Most of us were like, oh, that'd be great. I'm glad it worked for you, but we don't actually believe it. And so bringing that belief into a truly embodied state is where we get the power to have things come true in our lives, things that we want. We embody them. And that means that it is, right? It's not, oh, I want, it is, because I've already embodied that belief so strongly that it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when we act from a space of when, not if, we all know that it's literally just a matter of when, right? Any of us who've made a decision and done things in the past, and they work out miraculously, and you go, oh my gosh, I don't know how that happened, but I knew it would. That's what we're talking about, right? Or you may see those people, you may know those people who just seem to get everything they want, and like at work, and you're like, how did they do that? And it's because they're in the energy of when, not if. And that's the conviction space, right? That's embodying that change. And when we can narrow it down to, okay, I understand that I have blocks. I understand that I have sabotage. I understand that I have, wobbly habits that I'm not quite convinced of doing. When we shift the focus on that and shift it to, oh, thanks, Rick. When we shift it to, now I got into the comments, shift it to, okay, here's where I'm a little weak. I'm weak in really believing that it's possible myself. I'm weak in really feeling that I believe it. I'm weak in all of those types of things. Then we can actually unwind some of that, get it out of the way, and then infuse yourself with other beliefs. Because it's going to be a little awkward in the interim, right? We've got to take out these things that we don't want, that aren't supporting us, and we've got to put in other beliefs, just like we would if we were a robot and the robot was constantly swearing. We'd open the box, fix the robot, and then the robot would be like, you look beautiful today, right? We're literally doing that process with our own minds and our own thoughts. We just, for some reason, we think that the miswiring that's getting us to think all these horrible thoughts isn't a function of miswiring. We think it's like an important part of ourselves that we can't change. It isn't, right? It's just the wiring got all gunky somehow. But we don't have to be like that if it's not how you want to be. And we don't have to stick with those beliefs just because they were real for other people, or just particularly your family, just because they were real for your family or your neighbors or the teachers that you grew up with. Like, you don't have to stick with them. You get to choose. And that's why that choice, that decision, that conviction becomes really, really important. And that's where we make the difference, right? The intention's playing out. You're always doing action, but that conviction makes the difference between whether or not those actions are taking you towards your intention, or they're just sort of spiraling you in the side of your intention playing out, but that doesn't feel good because you're not really decided to be how you want to be. Awesome. Hope that was helpful. For those of you who just joined, sorry, go back and watch. And this is the second, it's like a follow-on to yesterday's video about the way the subconscious mind speaks. So if, you watch that and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it, but now I have all of these things in the way and I don't know how to actually take action and be in a good space, then this is what we're talking about here. And I will dig up that video from last year about intention, action, conviction, though I actually think this was probably a much more, an easier way to get your head around it. Because last year I was like, this new concept, let me talk about it out in the realms of the world. And it probably went a bit too far out. So I think this is a good place, to dig into it. Awesome. Talk to you soon. Let me know what you think. You can private message me, post it in the comments. I'd love to hear how this sits with you and how this resonates or not. As my teacher says, negative criticism is criticism, or negative feedback is feedback. Fight with me. Come on, let's fight. Because it's by having those conversations that we evolve, right? It's like I can evolve and grow by having conversations with other people. I can't just evolve and grow in a little petri dish over here in my apartment. So bring it all. I really want to hear it. And I want to hear how this fits and how it doesn't, and where we need to look next, and what about this and all of that. So talk to you soon. Mwah.